When most people look at a great guitar player, they see the result, right? Think about the last time you saw someone who you thought was great. Today, I want to talk about the causes that created that result in the first place. So like kind of our essential question is, what actually causes great guitar playing, great musicianship? Welcome to Mr. Elmer's Music Lab, the podcast. Let's have some fun. Here we go.
Mr. Elmer's Music Lab.
Okay, before we get started, I know you got dishes, you got laundry, you got to walk the dog, you got to chill, whatever. Just put in your earbuds, your headphones. Let's have some fun. Just sit back, listen. If you want to drop a comment, I love that. That's what makes these podcasts the most fun. If any of these causes resonate with you, I want to hear from you. We want to hear from you, okay? That's what makes this fun. We got to think about music too, okay? There's so much to learn. Okay, let's just go right into this. So cause number one. You connect information instead of collect information. Now, we've talked about this a lot. Now, whether it's been in past podcasts or just me in the instructional videos or any video I'm making here, think about this right now. Are you guilty of just collecting? I don't think most guitar players suffer from a lack of information. In fact, I don't think any of us do. I think we suffer from a lack of connection. So I'm going to kind of spitball some ideas and see what you think. Endless videos. Like right now, let's think about how many videos are you watching on YouTube right now? Drop in the comments. Are you watching more than 10 different guitar or music-based channels? Are you all over the place? All the PDFs you've collected, downloaded, whether they're printed or digital, exercises, scales, how many courses have you bought, right? So, and if you're just collecting all of that. Now, let's kind of start talking about the cause of like how to connect it. Because you connect it, you start to become a better musician, a better guitar player on any instrument. This is just a life rule in general. So let's take some examples here. You got to have real world examples. So think about like major scales. So you start thinking, how do major scales connect to triads, right? How do you build the triads out of those major scales? So whether it's a mental connection or it's a connection you make technically on your instrument, they're all connections. So you got to start thinking like this. Like, don't just collect, start connecting, okay? I do videos on this all the time, and I show you how to do it. I try and give you frameworks. Like, how do triads connect to chord progressions, right? And this is all how you up your game and your level of musicality. Because at the end of the day, let's face it, you're only competing against yourself. So even when you see a great guitar player or someone that you perceive as great, fantastic, whatever emotion they elicit from you, I want you to be inspired that and see through these causes, you can get to where they are too and be the best version of yourself. So how do chords connect to songs? I cannot tell you how many people I've met over the years through years and years of teaching and just sing this over and over. They know a bunch of songs. They don't even really know them all the way through. They know them partially. But if I actually tried to ask them, like, can you make a connection on like what made that song? What are the elements that made that song, right? And you're going to see how all these causes ultimately tie together. So the next time you learn a song, just take one part of that song and try and make some connections. Like, oh, what chords am I using here? What key are they connected to? What are some ways I could break this down into triads? What's 3 different ways I could play this song, right? Like you start making those connections and your progress really accelerates and it makes playing a lot more fun. Okay, and think about too, like ear training, right? Ear training connects to everything. At the end of the day, no matter what you do, your ear is always going to be your biggest asset. So connect that to everything you do, okay? Keep making those connections. That's why I really emphasize the ear training and I try and do the quizzes on here, not just music theory quizzes, but ear training quizzes so that you can make those connections. Every breakthrough came from connecting ideas rather than learning something completely new. So again, connect information instead of collecting it. Your fretboard or whatever instrument you play, but because this is a guitar-based channel, your fretboard is going to make a lot more sense when you see all the relationships on the fretboard. You connect. Basically, essentially what happens is you're completely blind to all of this until you slow down and try and make a connection. So don't learn 10 new chords. Don't learn 4 new scales. Like simplify, go deeper, and connect. So that would be kind of cause number 1, okay? Let's go into cause number 2. And again, these are just some loose ideas I have. There's more than these, but these are really important. I say this all the time. The older I get as a musician, the more seasoned you get as a musician, the more convinced we're all going to become that rhythm is king. I say it all the time. In fact, so much so I have a whole merch line that says rhythm is king right on the merch, because you guys all agree. You cannot debate that. If you don't have rhythm, you have nothing, right? So the best players, the reason they become the best players, whatever best means in our minds, how it's all subjective, they have great rhythmic skills on their instrument, okay? And I've said it a bazillion times too. James Brown said it. Your guitar is not a guitar, it is a drum set. It is a rhythm instrument, right? So think about this. Nobody dances to scales, right? They dance to rhythm. Rhythm creates feel. Rhythm creates music, right? Even the notes you don't play rhythmically, okay? We're going to get into this. That is a high-level sense of musicianship. So one note can sound amazing. One rhythmically played note can sound amazing compared to 20 notes. 20 notes can sound terrible. A real-world example I think of right now, David Gilmour of Pink Floyd. The way that guy plays solos, so simple, but with so much feel and rhythmic, just dripping and rhythmic vibe. That's why he's David Gilmour, and we all know him. That's their sound, right? Now, let's talk about the muted string practice. I'm always saying, okay, you don't even have to see this because I can just paint a picture for you visually. Every single time you grab your guitar, you should grab the strings, and before you play one note, you make one sound, you just hit those strings percussively and you get your rhythmic groove going, okay? Rhythm is king for now and forever, right? So great rhythm solves everything. There are no mistakes in music if you don't stop playing, and the only way you can do that is to keep the rhythm going, okay? And I got years and years of this practice because I'm in another 3-piece band, which we'll get in a minute. So guitar, bass, drums, that's it. I don't have another guitar player to fall on, nobody to pick me up when I fall. I have to keep that rhythm train going. And I've noticed students improve the quickest when their rhythm improves. And it makes playing so much more fun, especially when you're by yourself, okay? So a great rhythm can save average notes. Great notes cannot save bad rhythm. Again, you could play 20 notes with terrible rhythm and it's just going to sound terrible. You could play one note in time, whether you're bending it or kind of sort of bending it. And this is where your musicality comes in. This is where you start to make major progress as a musician, as a guitar player. And this is how you can take that skill set of great rhythm player and transfer it to other instruments. I can't tell you how much it's helped me. I'm learning drums right now, how much it's helped me to have great rhythm on my guitar. Now, of course, I have to figure out to how to become a great drummer, but I have that foundational skill set from guitar, and I have to just framework it to the drum kit, which is easier said than done, but this is cause number 2. Put rhythm above everything else, okay? So I'm going to say in every video moving forward, I'm always going to point out how rhythm is king, okay? But it just is something I shouldn't even have to say. You just need to know that. That's like an unspoken rule of music, okay? Let's go into cause number 3. Now, I talk about this one all the time too. And again, if any of these are resonating with you or you're struggling with any of these causes because you're not doing that, this is not happening for you, I want you to drop in the comments. We're all here to help each other out, lift each other up. Cause number 3 is go deep instead of wide, right? Great guitar players, they don't necessarily learn more things. They often learn fewer things more deeply. And it's what I've been kind of talking about already in these first few points is go deeper, right? Simplify. Think of music as like the tip of the iceberg, right? The iceberg is always much bigger below the surface than it is above the surface. You got to go below the surface. So let's just use a real world example. And I say this over and over because music is all about repetition, putting in the reps. Let's say you're playing a G major chord, right? Let's say you're playing a G major open chord. Just picture that in your head. I'm going to bet that 99.9% of you all know how to play that chord. Even if you're not a musician, you might even know how to play it. But hopefully, if you're here, you're a musician. And if you're not, you'll become one. But have you ever asked yourself, you strum an open G chord, you're playing 6 notes from low E to high E. Have you ever thought to yourself, well, what notes actually make up that chord? Like, do you even have the the want to know that, that's another connection. It goes back to see how these causes all go together. Like they glue it all together to become the best version of yourself. So remember, you got to go deeper. You've got to take anything you're working on. And I like to think of spend 2 to 5 days on the same concept, okay? And then kind of keep looping. It's kind of like a circular loop where you're still moving forward, but you're always looping back to everything else. And again, like when you I'll ask you this. It's more of a rhetorical question, but when you become a great rhythm player, does that mean you don't work on things that are good for your rhythmic skills? Of course not. Like once you have something, we got to keep showing up and putting in the reps. I've seen all the best guitarists in the world, and I've played with a lot of session guys. They all say the same thing. Like once you put in the reps to get something, put it in your musical catalog, you have to keep coming back to it and keep putting in the work. It's like if you go to the gym and work out and you get really strong and you don't go to the gym for a year, you're going to lose that strength. So you got to keep the consistency going. So you got to stay with ideas long enough to develop mastery. Now, I don't know, the word mastery, do we ever truly master anything? I don't think so. Now, we can use that good old 10,000 hours rule, and Malcolm Gladwell, being one of my favorite authors, talks about that. I think the book is Tipping Point. I can't remember the exact book, but basically how when you put in your 10,000 hours, you can kind of reach more of what's considered an advanced or expert level. But you don't just stop at 10,000 hours. You just keep going. You keep racking up more hours, and then you keep moving forward. You're never going to learn everything. You're just going to keep going deeper. So that's why, you guys, I talk about triads all the time: rhythm, voice leading, chord progressions. Go deeper. Play an open chord progression. Play G, C, A minor open chords. And then today I want you to go to your instrument. I want you to find a G, C, A minor triad somewhere on the neck. And then you're like, well, I don't know what notes make up those triads. Well, then go figure it out. G, B, D, right? C, E, G, A, C, E. Now go find those 3 notes for each of those triads. Now play the progression as a triad progression. That's how you get better. That's what the best players do, okay? Now, whether it's somebody showing it to you or something even like a spoken word thing like this, where I'm kind of challenging you to go out, push yourself. Like, don't ever accept mediocrity because you don't want to go deeper. And familiarity creates freedom. Revisit concepts repeatedly. Repetition, 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 right? The treasure is usually buried under something you already know. I can't tell you how many light bulb moments. I still have them, and they will happen forever, but that's what makes it fun. So many things I'm like, why did my teacher not show me this? I love my teachers. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be half the player I am without them. However, I'll give you an example right now. If you play that minor pentatonic scale, let's go ahead and go up to E minor pentatonic, starting with the root. Just visualize this. You got to do stuff like this too. You don't even need your instrument in your hand, but if you have your instrument and you're listening to this, grab it. 12th fret, low E to high E. That E minor pentatonic scale. You know, if you do the fingers 1 4 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 4 1 4, and you know what I'm talking about. So there's an E minor pentatonic scale, but if you actually start on the G string and you play like 12th fret, 14th fret, then you go to the B string, 12th fret, 13th fret, 15th fret, and then you go to the high E, 12th fret, 14th fret, 15th fret. Right there, you just played the G major scale. So I was like, wait, what? The relative major scale lives right in? Yes, that is those connections that I was just like, I was blind to that. And then it blows my mind when you and this is what makes playing music exciting. This is why music is the best thing in the world. You're gonna have these just light bulb moments. I'd say connect the dots all the time, okay? And there's so many dots. There's an infinite amount of dots to connect. So that's what makes it cool too. Guitar would be kind of lame if it was like a video game that you loved, as a kid, and then you reach the peak of it, and then you just wait for the next release. We don't have to wait for the next release of the guitar. It's all right there, and it's infinite. But that's so much fun to me. And then it's all what drives you to be passionate, okay? So go deep instead of wide. Don't play the G, C, A minor. Find those triads. Then find 2 more triad shapes. There's 12 major and minor triad shapes across the string sets. And then if you're like, what is a string set? Go watch some of my videos, or go look up what are the string sets, and that's referring to the open string. So there's so many connections to be made. The going deeper part helps you make the connections. Okay, Now, again, if any of this is resonating with you, drop a comment. If you're sleep, hopefully I didn't put you to sleep. But if you're chilling or you're doing laundry or dishes and just listening and nodding your head, yep, that's me. Come back later, drop a comment. Okay, that's what makes these podcasts fun. Cause number 4: you need to learn to hear before you play. Okay. At some point, great players stop letting their fingers lead and start letting their ears lead. Now, I was fortunate enough to have I had a mom as a music teacher growing up. My mom was a music teacher. So I was pretty immersed in music. I only play the guitar though. It was just the tool to get me into a band. That's all I cared about. I wanted to be in a band. The guitar was just the byproduct of that happening. And now it's like my biggest passion in life, music and guitar. But I was always taught to how to listen to music. So I thank my mom for playing all those great records, and even my dad with some of his cheesy selections that I thought were cheesy as a kid, but now as an adult, I appreciate them. Ear training accelerates everything, right? So let's do a little example here. You hear people talk about music theory a lot, and I preach music theory a ton. Now, you don't have to have music theory to be a great player. My mindset is like, why wouldn't you want to know more? Why wouldn't you want to have more knowledge to attach to what you already have? But if you don't do that, I get it. Some people get sick in the head listening to music theory talk. But your ears, that is like your music theory. So I've heard it said before, Nirvana is one of my favorite bands in the world. And I've heard Kurt, I think a lot of them too, I've seen them in interviews, and tell me if you've seen this. They'll be asked about music theory and they almost play dumb on purpose, for lack of a better word. I don't even know how to make a minor chord, and yet they're writing these like hit songs. Well, then that's because they know how to find it with their ear. And Kurt, he definitely wasn't playing in what I'd call diatonic music theory. He was not going to stay and use just the same chords that were relative to one major scale. He was going to find things, and he was just using his ears. So that was how his musicianship rose up, his songwriting, his abilities. That's how he developed into who he was. His ear training was elite, right? So that accelerates everything. That's why I do the little music theory quizzes on here, and I do like the shorts, daily music theory quizzes and daily ear training quizzes, okay? So you want to hear chord qualities, you want to hear intervals, tension, release. This is what develops your musicality. This is another direct cause of becoming a great musician, okay? And again, here's the cool part. I champion theory, the book side of it, the language of it, okay? I champion that because you can use that to go teach yourself other instruments. Now, I'm not a great pianist. However, I've played piano in world-class studios on records, simple parts that I taught myself. And I also write a lot in there that I wouldn't find those voicings on a guitar. So that's why I talk about that. But again, it all comes down to how I'm listening. So that's how, I feel fortunate enough there was no YouTube when I was younger. I had to learn everything by ear. The way we learned songs is we would rewind tapes or CDs a bazillion times and try and figure out the song by ear. And I learned real quick that, if I just listen to the bass line, I can find the roots, and then I can figure out, it's a minor chord here or a 7 chord. So that really helped me a lot. Like, you start recognizing common progressions, especially artists you love. And then there's other ones who are phenomenal, like Stone Temple Pilots, man. Those two brothers, the way they wrote their progressions, and I believe is Dean the bass player? The DeLeo brothers, I think it's Dean's the bass. No. Robert is the bass player. He wrote a lot of the STP stuff on the guitar, and he's the bass. So it shows you there, but they use so many like 7 chords with like distortion and unbelievable stuff. Again, it was that ear training those guys had. So you hear those guys, you're like, and then you put them in the sum of parts and you get STP. We need more of that in the world. So you can predict where the music wants to go. You tie into so that's what I'm trying to tie into when I write can you hear this, that's always the same title I use for those music shorts. I do all kinds of those, so you guys check that out. Come to the channel, check those playlists out, go watch some of those quizzes I do. So this is where you test that ear, you keep developing that ear, and don't get discouraged. Even when you get it, you gotta keep it going, right? Keep it going. Okay. Cause number 5. And again, drop any comments, anything resonating with you yet? Drop that in there. Develop musical taste. So everyone has to develop their musical taste. Great musicians don't just learn what they can play. They actually learn what should be played. So there's this really strange thing it's strange, but it's unbelievably fascinating and cool as a musician. When you start to write songs or you start to produce or you go into production, I don't know where you guys are, what your hopes and aspirations and goals are, but let's say, for example, one of you wants to be a music producer. So you want to work with other artists. You're going to work on your own stuff, but you want to help artists become the best version of self. You have to develop the skill set where you can hear things ahead. You can hear them in the future, meaning you're playing a guitar part. Let's say you're playing a chord progression, and this is like developing your musicality, your taste. But then you can already hear the other part in your head as you're playing the part you're playing currently live. So you start to weave parts together, and that's just really by listening to a ton of artists, playing for tons of hours, making a lot of just do a lot of experimentation, right? You also learn how to exercise restraint, space. Again, keeping things really simple, right? You got to know where to put your bandwidth too. Like, I have a book over there with probably every scale known to mankind, and there's certain ones in there I'm not going to put my time into a Lydian dominant scale. I might look at it just to kind of understand it, but there's certain things that just work in music, okay? But I'm not telling you not to go deeper on that and try and find things. Like, sit down, whether it's a writing session, listen to people. I brought up David Gilmour, B.B. King. Think about vocal melodies. Listen to horn players. Listen to a keyboard arrangement. How can you turn that into a guitar part? Try and listen to a song you like. Find the melody of the vocal. Find the lead vocal melody or even a background. Try and figure that on the guitar. And I'll loop back to Kurt Cobain too. You know, a lot of his songs, you remember, his guitar solos were him kind of a savage, raw way mimicking the lead vocal melody. And it sounds killer. And then it was just a matter of the taste, the production skills, right? So maturity often removes notes rather than adds them. So you guys don't discount space. Now, I'm going to kind of say that muted strings, even though you're hitting the strings and you're not playing a note, in my mind, that is space. You're not producing a sound. It's kind of like a true musical rest is when you stop playing and you rest, silence, okay? But I like to think of, like, if you're playing by yourself, your musical rest being the muted strings. Of course, you could totally stop playing and have that little drummer going on in your head and you'll come back in on time. But that's a lot of times for context of playing with other musicians. So the goal isn't to play the most notes. The goal is to play the right notes that drive the emotions that get you to where you want. Or you're going to hear sounds in your head and you're going to be driving or you're going to be laying in bed. You're going to hear some kind of killer riff. I know it's happened to you. Tell me right now, has it happened to you? Or when was the last time that happened to you? You're going to want to know how to get that out on your instrument. So that's how all this helps you a lot. And I listen to all kinds of artists. You know, I'm a 90s kid. Like, I was touring in bands, and those are the bands I grew up on. And then the ones my mom, but I still listen to all kinds of country players, hip hop. I just listen to everything because I have a producer's mindset. So if I need something to help me further my musical taste or develop my production palette, I guess you could say, or chops, that's what I'm going to do. So that's another cause of great musicianship, okay? So figure out how to develop your musical taste. Take your heroes, okay? Don't copy them, kind of emulate them in your own way. Sound like you. Okay, cause number 6. This one I talk about all the time, okay? Now, a lot of you guys have the fear factor. Play with other people, okay? There is 2 musical muscles that you have, okay? Now, one of them you might not be working on at all. And some of you, it's not your fault. I get it. And you are trying. I've seen you guys talk to me in the comments, and we've talked about it. There are lessons that only show up. There are lessons and light bulb moments that will only show up when another musician is sitting across from you, okay? Because now you are in a relationship. Hopefully your egos are functioning from a good place, and that should always be for the good of the song, okay? And I've said this before. If I write 100 great songs and there's not one solo in there or there's not flashy guitar parts, I don't care. I could care less, okay? So that's another cause to great guitar playing too, is putting your ego aside and functioning from a healthy place. It's always about the good of the song. So when you're playing with other musicians, you've got to compromise, right? You can't step on other people's toes. So you got to think about timing, dynamics, communication, listening to what they're playing. How can you lift them up? Now, in this room I'm sitting in right now, I play with this husband and wife, Fritz and Bernadette. I have a few videos of our band practices on here. I'm going to do a lot more of that on here. That's kind of some big goals for the channel. Do some live stream concerts in here. I want you guys to see the rawness of how this works, okay? You need to see it. There is no perfection in music, but bands, jam sessions, if you guys go to church, ask if you can play in your church group. Get into some recording projects, okay? I'm going to do a lot more of that on here too with all this new gear I got. In fact, the last video I did, I showed how to play some triads, different, and then I showed you a little musical sample with the actual Logic session breaking down what my thinking was from a producer's mindset. And a lot of you said, oh, I'm surprised it sounded like, but that's what I'm trying to show you guys. That's kind of the end game of guitar, even though there is no end game. But you'll accelerate your growth the quickest when you play with others. So you've got the two muscles. You've got your bedroom muscle where you're sitting down and you're playing by yourself, okay? Great. Awesome. And hopefully you're working on a lot of these causes I talked earlier into that, okay? But then there's also the muscle, the stage, the live playing muscle, where you're playing music with other people. Maybe you're standing up. I've had some of you guys too that have said, I can play these parts really well sitting down, but when I stand up, it falls apart. Okay? My answer to that would be play with other people and then also stand up. Pretend you're playing in that live band situation, even if you're not playing with, like, emulate that, copy that, try and get a taste of what that's like. Other musicians are going to expose your weaknesses quickly, and your weaknesses could be, they're going to show maybe your timing is not what you thought. Maybe there's this like fascinating thing. I don't know how to explain it, but everything is happening in real time, and there's no room for error. That's why I say there's only one mistake in music. It's when you stop. So if you get a little lost, you just go back to that muted strings thing when you regroup. But I definitely have to change my framework when I play in my 3-piece band. And we just had a practice recently, and I was thinking about how my approach of how I might play something compared to how I would play it by myself. And it's totally different because it's two different muscles. Now I have the other thing too, where I'm singing lead vocals in this group. So that the vocal with the guitar is a whole, that to me, that's an instrument by itself. That's a whole nother ball of wax. That's another set of compromises. So you got that, you're playing with your other musicians. And now what I love about a 3-piece is the purity of bass, drums, guitar, vocals. There's no room for I don't want to use the word sucking, but you guys know what I mean. And listen, you gotta go through those rough parts to smooth it out. Now, I just talked to Fritz and Bernadette, and one thing I'm excited, we're gonna try and figure this out. I want you guys to see this. We decided to challenge ourselves and play Message in a Bottle by the Police. Of course, as you guys know, the Police, it's like 3 virtuosos in a band. You got Sting and Andy Summers and Stuart Copeland, ridiculously. The riff's really hard, the vocal arrangements, and there's this raw, primitive energy to that band. I mean, so we're going to try and break that down, record it, and show you guys. And I want you guys to see all the rough edges, all the struggle. That riff is brutal. And then just trying to figure out how to make it flow musically. And that's what I'm talking about too, where there's no room for error there. You just got to go. Your bedroom muscle, one thing, you're playing live muscle, or you're playing with other people muscle, you just got to go, okay? But it's all a growing experience. That is a cause to becoming a great musician. And I can't tell you how much that helps you when you play with other people, but then when you're home alone, you're going to see how that really lifts you up, and you're going to just keep getting better and better and better and better, okay? Again, there's no best guitar player. There's just the best version of yourself. That's it. Everyone's playing different stuff. We're all working on different skill sets, but all these causes will work for anybody, regardless of what genre they want to play in or what they want to become as a musician or an artist, okay? Now, remember too, like your band or your musician, they don't care how many YouTube videos you've watched. They don't care, You're only beholden to one thing, okay? Besides your bandmates, the song you guys are working on together. So you better make sure that every single person you're playing with in your group, whether it's, I play in a 2-piece with my friend Max too. That's a lot of fun. No drums, so you better have tight. But my point being is you got to serve the song. Ties back to what I said before. The song is number one, okay? So when you guys work on that, that's what matters the most. And again, your band doesn't care how many YouTube videos you've worked on. When you show up, you got to be ready to go, okay? So just something to think about. If you're discouraged by that, don't worry. You're going to find other people to play with. Just talk to people. Everyone knows another guitar player and the musician. It doesn't have to be, maybe you play with a pianist, a bassist. It doesn't matter. Just find somebody. Maybe it's just a vocalist that wants to sing over what you're playing, okay? And you'll work on that. Okay. Number 7, and then we'll wrap this up. Stay around long enough for compounding to work. If I had to pick one force behind the scenes of every great guitar player I've ever met, it would be compounding. They show up over and over and over, okay? You gotta have a passion for this stuff. You want it to be fun. You're not going to do it if it's not fun. So make sure you find what drives you to have fun, okay? And then take everything I've spoken of here and see how you can work that in. And of course, I'll keep making videos. I've made tons of videos on how to do that, just frameworks. So progress is rarely linear, right? It's just not. Small improvements stack up over time. Just like looping back to what I said before, simplify, go deeper, take 3 to 5 days and work just on that concept and see how musical you can be with that simple idea. Take a song you know and love. Look part of the song, figure out what made that part of the song that I love, okay? Don't learn 20 songs, learn one, and then before you learn the next one, go in and put in the reps and figure out what made that song great. Just start making those connections. Years 1 to 2 of guitar feel pretty slow, okay? But again, there's kind of the 101 of guitar learning. However, I teach it, I think, on a much higher level because the whole reason I even have this YouTube channel was I didn't ever want to be a YouTuber. I'm just a guitar player. I just want to help you guys learn all the things my teachers did not show me. And I've had all these light bulb years. I'm like, why did they not show me that? Why? And again, I love my teachers. I wouldn't be half the player I am without them. However, there's so many things I wish I would have been shown, or at least even if they just showed it to me and I didn't do anything with it, just to be aware of it. You don't know what you don't know, okay? So if you've already made it through the first year, because remember, like 90%, there's been many studies by big guitar companies, like 90, it's a pretty staggering number of 90% of players quit in the first year. If you're playing, you've already won, so just don't stop, okay? Years 3 to 5 is where you start to really kind of connect the dots, okay? You're working on all these skill sets and all these causes are happening for you, but that's where you really kind of start to connect the dots on a deeper level. And then I think years 5 to 10 can look really dramatic. And drop in the comments what you think about that. Like, where are you? Tell us in the comments, what year are you in of your playing? Just curious, how many years have you played and how's it going for you? So the guitar rewards consistency more than intensity. So just to tell you straight up, I will always be a preacher of truth on here. Now, listen, you guys, if you don't do this YouTube thing, we have to put certain things in our titles to get you in here. This is how the algorithm works. Like you see a lot of titles that say tricks, tips, 10 times your progress, 15 years of experience in 15. That's, at the end of the day, we just want to get you in here to show you and help you. But there are no tips. There's no tricks. The trick is just don't quit and show up every day. Like I've played majority of my life and I spend all my time in here when I'm not with my family working on my craft over and over. And I'm not just working on guitar. I'm connecting the piano to the guitar. When I'm playing drums, I'm thinking because I have a lot of music I want to put out this year. So I have to show up and keep putting in the reps. So that's why I said the learning never stops. Most people quit before the compounding has a chance to work. In fact, when I look at my YouTube analytics, I'd like to think I do pretty good videos. I put thought into them. I make these beautiful charts. They're always free, except for the little ebooks I make, which I put a ton of time in. But the people that drop off, I can see when people drop off. And listen, I'm not saying maybe I'm not somebody's cup of tea, whatever. But I know I'm showing something that will give them value and help them, but once they've already left, they will never make it in this music game. And then one day they're going to wake up and be like, I feel terrible about myself and my guitar playing. It's just because they're not working on any of these causes. You got to show up and you got to be consistent, but find what makes it fun so your passion goes deeper and deeper for it. Passion is everything, and that builds your confidence. So the magic isn't often in the practice session. It's in what thousands of practice sessions become. So you guys, this is a long game. Keep at it. We're going to have lots of discouraging moments. Part of the game. Remember, first podcast I ever did, 5 brutal truths of guitar, learning guitar. One of them was embrace the pain. You got to that's the problem with our society. People, they want everything instantly, especially the younger generations. It's not how it works. Thank God you can't download an app and be a great guitar player. Now this AI thing, that's another topic, but we're gonna defeat that stuff. Okay. So let's just wrap this up. What's interesting to me about this entire list is none of it's particularly glamorous. It's not glamorous stuff. Connection, rhythm, depth, ear training, musical tastes, playing with others, compounding, right? Showing up. So great guitar playing isn't random. It's usually the result of simple causes working together over a long period of time. The next time you hear a great guitar player, the next time you see a great guitar player, band, is somebody you admire, the result of what they're doing, ask yourself what caused it. What caused that to happen? Okay, I'm gonna guarantee you're gonna have some light bulb moments. Okay, and the more you can deepen your knowledge of what we're doing here musically, as an artist, as a musician, as a guitar player, you're gonna see what's going. And that's really where the real lesson's hiding. Okay, admire them, get encouraged to be better. Don't feel bad. Anytime there's bazillions of guitar players out on the World Wide Web that are incredible, don't let that discourage you. So I want you to think, what did they do there that allowed them? And then start breaking it down. It's like the good old reverse engineering. Okay, super stoked to get back to the podcast. Tons of amazing content coming here. I'm going to do a lot more recording, production. I need you guys to see why I even do this. Why do I do these lessons? Because I'm going to write songs. I got a whole bunch of songs coming out for release. I'm working on a big catalog for a TV sync deal. Can get placements through that. So I want you guys to have fun. I want you to play guitar forever. I want you to make music for the world to hear. And I want you to be fearful of anything. All right? So drop jellyfish or your favorite sea creatures in the comments. Where are you watching from? What do you want to see? And what I always say, only you can stop you. Just don't stop. See you in the next podcast, next video, wherever I see you. Peace.